Russia calls Ilia Malinin its own when he wins medals and does a quadruple axel. In the US, they remember his roots when he jokes that he would have to change his orientation in order to upgrade the components. The scandal began with a live broadcast on Malinin's social network. In response to a joking request, "Prove that you are straight," Ilya replied that he could no longer remain so, because otherwise he would not get high components.
Ilya, do you need to prove you're straight? What?
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 Yeah, are you straight?
Bro, you know, let's be honest. I can't be straight anymore because I need those components score up, you know?
Oh,
I gotta say that I'm not straight. That way, my components are gonna go up.
you gotta be smart, you know?
You
You need to,
gotta think smart.
you need to, how do you say? Live right.
Oh yeah. With Hanyu, yeah, he did come up to me. He told me that he was congratulations to Axel. I mean, I'll be honest, he kind of looked pissed off that I did it first, but he really complimented me.
This phrase would have been enough to make a big story, but in the same broadcast Malinin also managed to hurt Hanyu's fans. Ilya said, Yuzuru was annoyed, congratulating Ilya with the world's first quadruple axel. Malinin quickly realized that the joke had gone far. In social networks he apologized to everyone who was affected and called his behavior adolescent. And in response, he received comments that he was no longer a child, and the apology was not very convincing. Malinin's cancellation quickly launched. Even Irina Rodnina's longtime rival Ty Babylonia intervened, asking in a tweet for the American Federation to pay attention to Ilya. She later deleted the post, but liked the user's post, which blasted the skater for the insincerity of the apology. Although Ilya in a spontaneous stand-up skated without names, many believed that the god of quadruplets mocked Brown. Jason is openly gay, who has always received the highest components. In addition, Ilya could have a claim to a teammate a year ago, when Jason went to the Olympics, while vice-champion Malinin remained at home. Even if Ilya didn't have Brown in mind specifically, it's like Akativa joking about trimetazidine and Voliva's doping case being open. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that Brown was the only American left in the kiss and go area to support Malinin after the short at the Team Worlds. The others didn't wait for the results. Trying to rectify the situation, Ilya published a video of a parallel rotation with Jason, but it came out only worse. The tape, judging by the banners and seats in the hall, was made a few weeks ago during the Japanese shows. It seems that Malinin posted it just to show that there was no conflict with Brown. This post sparked a new wave of outrage. Users now accused Ilya of parasitizing on Jason's name and intending to hide behind him from accusations. The comments are a cocktail of privileged white man, how can you even complain? To be honest, you're not writing an 8 in components, but a 4 and of course get off Yuzuru written by those who were more offended by the reference to Hanyu. Surprisingly, in a similar situation 2 years ago there was Nathan Chen, perhaps the most diplomatic and accurate skater. He could not provoke a conflict with endless questions about Yuzuru, or provocations about the doping case of Voliva and the failed medal ceremony of the team event. Nevertheless, before the 2022 Olympics in Beijing, Chen made a puncture. He called himself straight in a sport dominated by LGBT+ athletes and said he was trying to circumvent the trend for femininity in figure skating by using hip-hop and pop compositions in his programs. Subsequently, Nathan had to apologize and promise to become a more dignified representative of the sport. Ilya's situation is more complicated. First of all, his statement was more brutal, and secondly, Malinin's position in the team is obviously much weaker than Chen's. Nathan gave the odious interview already the world champion and main contender for the Olympic gold, while for Ilya the main prize is still the ISU Skating Awards. Malinin's amazing technicality will never translate into high scores. Brown was even better at the Team World Championships without a quadruple in the free skate, with only 0.5 points difference between Ilya and Jason, in favor of the rich quadruple, and 1 point difference for the national team. But perhaps the main reason for the criticism of Ilya is his unwavering self-confidence, which reminds many of insolence. Claims that he should be the one to go to Beijing, promises of a soon-to-be 5, and the trademark god of the quads hats irritate many, especially in sport, where the universal answer to any question is a little worded "keep working." Any misstep by Malinin against this background is perceived as an excuse to bring him down from the height of the quadruple axel, and at the same time, under the guise of fair anger because of an inappropriate joke, to tease on the topic of wooden skating, breakdowns in important tournaments and unimpressive programs. Brown is indeed the season's leader in second-place finishes. He has appeared in 2 international tournaments and scored about 143 points on program totals. Malinin was not even in the top 10 in terms of average components. Grassel, Yamamoto, and Sadowski are higher than him. However, it's strange to argue that Brown is more expressive and has better glide than Malinin, whose programs are largely built around jumps. It's unlikely that Jason would have gotten anywhere near a dozen if he hadn't been an American, but it's also unlikely that Ilya, with a passport from Mexico, would have seen 8 on the scoreboard. Brown's strength, however, was not so much in his second grade, but in the quality bonuses for the elements. To compare, Malinin, who had the record basic difficulty for the free skating event, received a go of about 0, while Jason used them to increase his technical score from 71.37 to 90.03. Similar story with Amo, who had 17.86 points for quality surcharges, and Cha, whose surcharge was 20.25. ISU had been betting on cleanliness to the detriment of difficulty long before Malinin reached the adult level. Shcherbakova used the same principle to beat Trusova in Beijing and Kostornaya to defeat both of them in her best season. Chen, whose image in programs Ilya and many other champions, from Yagudin and Plushchenko to Fernandez and Uno, use, also does not fit Malinin's logic. If someone tried to reproach Hanyu for excessively romantic costumes and allegedly non-personal images, he certainly is not guilty of speculating on his personal life. The resentment of the judges and Ilya and his entourage is quite obvious. It permeates the World Cup 2023 kiss and race, is echoed in Malinin's ironic post working on gliding, and is directly proclaimed by his agent Ari Zakarian. As for the result, I'm amazed and thankful to the judges who gave the quadruple axel a score of 12.86. You could have done a nice triple axel and gotten about the same amount. So I say thank you to the judges who so gracefully scored his quadruple axel. I remind you, the first one in the history of the World Championships. It is partly reasonable, the quadruple axel costs really unfairly little, and the complication of programs is clearly not the priority of the ISU. Another thing is that Malinin has been playing under these rules for many years, and even Chen was not forgiven for failures in his free skating in the spirit of Ilya's free skating at the World Team Championships when he had them. Malinin is able to choose the way of a second Plushchenko, to be an ambassador for the quads, to lobby for the emergence of 5 in the grading system, and to declare rides with crazy complexity and new aesthetic. But he will always be vulnerable on this road. You can only do something unique if you are completely sure that you are right. When Plushchenko was bragging about the lack of ligatures in his programs and defiantly stepping over the first step of the podium, he was an Olympic champion whose approach justified itself for many years. Malinin's bet on the quadruple axel has not yet played out, although it has allowed him to be memorable. Another thing is that the degree of hatred on social media Ilya significantly exceeded the level of inappropriateness of the phrase for which he was cancelled. An unfortunate joke gave a reason to settle a score with those who have long considered Malinin arrogant, self-righteous and too straightforward. The evocative ease with which Ilya performed a jump that some had not even dreamed of, while others tried to do for several years, a separate reason to wait for any of his mistakes and hyperbolize it into an incorrigible failure. The question is whether Malinin himself is ready for such pressure.